Can we have a talk for a second? Have you ever stood in your kitchen staring into your pantry like, I want to make this dish taste delicious, but I don't know how? Listen, you are not alone, because I used to be there too, making sad, bland chicken. But once I got hip to how spices work, my kitchen turned into a whole restaurant, and today I'm gonna put you on game.
Bing, bop, boom, 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 bop, bam. The type I'm on you wouldn't understand.
All right, so first things first, you need your basics. If your spice cabinet don't have these, we gotta talk. The one thing your spice cabinet should always have is salt. Salt is not just for making things salty. It's what brings the natural flavors out. It's really like turning up the volume on your food. And there's different types of salts. You have Himalayan salt, you have sea salt, and basically the difference between the two salts is where they come from. Himalayan salt is harvested from ancient salt deposits deep in the Himalayan mountains. It's got that pink color because of the minerals in it. And it has a milder, slightly earthier taste. Now on the flip side, sea salt is harvested from evaporated seawater, and depending on where it's from, it can have a stronger, briny taste. It's perfect for finishing dishes like sprinkling it over your salad, over caramel, on cookies, to give it that little salty, sweet vibe. So think of it this way. Himalayan salt is your calm, sweet friend, while sea salt is your lively and bold friend. Both are great. It just depends on what type of vibe you are going for in your dish. The next spice you should have in your cabinet is black pepper. Now this is your best friend right here. A little heat, it just makes everything pop. Next on the list of spices you should have is garlic powder. Listen, garlic powder is a cheat code. You can sprinkle it on chicken, shrimp, vegetables, but it's really perfect for seasoning your meat. It brings a little garlicky richness without that strong, punch you in the back of the throat garlic taste, like fresh garlic will give you. Next on the list of spices you should have is onion powder. Onion powder builds a richer, fuller flavor base in your dish without you necessarily tasting the onion. It actually makes the dish taste more complete, savory, and satisfying, especially when combined with things like garlic powder, salt, and herbs. And here's a quick tip. Whenever you're seasoning, think of salt first to bring your dish alive, and then layer it with onion and garlic powder to make it sing, okay? Once you got your basics, it's time to add some drama and flair to your dish. Next up is paprika. It gives that smoky, sweet little kick without the spice. It's perfect on roasted potatoes, chicken, or even sprinkle it over mac and cheese. You'll see me do that a lot on my channel. I sprinkle smoked paprika on my mac and cheese. And the reason why I sprinkle it over my mac and cheese is because it gives it color while it's baking. Next on the list of spices is cumin. Cumin is that earthy, warm taste that you get when you eat tacos, chili, stews, and you'll see me use it in a lot of dishes that I cook. The next spice you should have in your spice cabinet is adobo seasoning. Y'all, I had no idea what this stuff was until recently, and since I've learned about what it is, I've been using it in everything. Adobo seasoning is like the ultimate kitchen shortcut. It is a cheat code for real. It has garlic powder, onion powder, oregano, salt, pepper, and a little citrus all packed into one. I mean, this is the kind of seasoning that you sprinkle on everything, from chicken to rice to beans to veggies. It just has that perfect balance. It's one of those spices that when you sprinkle it on your food, it's like, I don't know what this is, but this slaps. It's definitely one of those pantry staples that will level up your food in 2 seconds. Sometimes you just want to add a little sass and attitude to your food, right? Well, these spices will do that for you. Let's talk about chili powder. It's smoky, a tiny bit spicy, not much, just a tiny bit. It's also a little sweet, and it's perfect for chili, tacos, and even a barbecue rub. Most regular chili powders like the McCormick brand are made of ground dry chilies, usually like ancho chilies, not super spicy ones. It's also made of cumin, garlic powder, paprika, and oregano. And sometimes it might have a little onion powder or salt too, it just depends on the brand. Next up in the category of sassy spices, we have Creole seasoning. Y'all, don't sleep on the Creole seasoning. If spices were people, Creole seasoning would be that cousin who always shows up overdressed and steals the show. How many of y'all have cousins like that? She's spicy, she's loud, she's flavorful, and she's got all the drama you need in the kitchen. A little sprinkle and your food is immediately giving. Where's the second plate energy? Just be careful though, because Creole seasoning is very, very salty. So don't go heavy-handed unless you're ready for some salt drama, okay? Next up on the list of sassy, we have red pepper flakes. I love using red pepper flakes in my collard greens. I use it in my green beans. I also sprinkle it on pizza. It gives you a little surprise in every bite. And just a little fun fact about red pepper flakes, it's not just made of one pepper. They're actually a mix of different dried chilies like cayenne, ancho, and bell pepper skins. That's why sometimes when you bite into something that you sprinkle red pepper flakes in, you will get a mild heat, while the next one you'll need your water bottle to choke it down. It's pretty much like the spicy lottery with every bite. If you're scared of spice, start small. You can always add more, but you cannot take it back. So a little bit goes a long ways unless you like your mouth on fire. Let's talk about the sweet and savory spices like cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, cloves, those spices. They're not just for cookies, okay? You can use them in other dishes as well. So let's start with cinnamon. Cinnamon has a natural sweet note. So even if you're not using sugar, it can make a dish feel sweeter and balanced. I use it in things like apple pies, peach pies, sweet potato pies, oatmeal. My kids use it in their coffee. Cinnamon, you can pretty much sprinkle it on just about anything and it'll taste good. In savory dishes like chilies and stews, I sprinkle a tiny bit of cinnamon in there to smooth out the harshness, like the acidity from the tomatoes or the bitterness from certain spices. Now let's talk about nutmeg. It actually adds warmth and sweetness in a different type of way. Nutmeg has that cozy, warm flavor, but it's not sugary or sweet like cinnamon can be. It's more earthy, nutty, almost a little peppery, which makes it perfect for both sweet and savory dishes. Nutmeg is one of those, you don't know it's in there, but you'll miss it if it wasn't type of spices. It lifts the whole entire dish, almost like adding background vocals to a song. It brings all the flavors together without screaming, "Here I am, I'm nutmeg." It's more laid back and chill. Now, allspice is another spice that you should have in your spice cabinet. It's almost like cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves had a baby. Allspice is great for baking, sure, but it's also good for jerk chicken and certain marinades. Now, another spice that you should have in your spice cabinet is ground cloves. Listen, she is tiny but mighty. Cloves have this deep, bold, slightly sweet, slightly spicy flavor that can literally change the whole mood of your dish with just a pinch. Like, you do not need a lot of this spice in your food. If you blink too long, you have already overdone it. I like to sprinkle just a tiny bit on candied yams, and I put some in my sweet potato pie. So just remember, with cloves, less is more, because you don't want to overdo it. It's like perfume. You want to whiff, not the whole bottle. So let's talk about herbs. We're going to talk about fresh herbs and dried herbs because they both do different things. Dried herbs are great for slow cooking, for things like soups, stews, roasts, things like that. The heat actually wakes up the dried herbs. Fresh herbs are for garnishments, like when you want to make your food look fancy. So let's think something like parsley or basil sprinkled over a pasta dish. That's what fresh herbs do. But before we get into dried herbs, let me give you a little tip. Dried herbs go in early during the cooking process, and fresh herbs go in at the end. So dried herbs early, fresh herbs end. All right, so let's get into the dried herbs that you should have in your spice cabinet or spice drawer. Let's start with Italian seasoning. It's got basil, oregano, and thyme all blended in. Next on the list of dried herbs is rosemary. I cook a lot with this, but let's talk about rosemary. This herb is like the bold, confident friend who walks into the room and immediately takes control. It's got that woody, earthy, almost pine-like flavor that pairs well with chicken, pork, or even roasted potatoes. A little rosemary goes a long way because it can easily overpower your food if you sprinkle too much. It's the kind of herb that smells amazing while it's cooking and gives your dish that really sophisticated rustic vibe. Now let's talk about oregano. Oregano is another spice that you should have in your spice cabinet or spice drawer. And if you add it to a tomato-based dish, it just makes that tomato flavor pop. But if you've seen any of my cooking videos, you know that I cook all the time with oregano. I add it to chicken, I add it to stews, I add it to soups. I add it to just about everything. Another herb that you should have in your spice drawer or cabinet is basil. Basil has this sweet, peppery, and slightly minty flavor. And let me tell you, it is the heart of Italian food. You really can't do a pasta or a tomato sauce without it. Just remember, if you're gonna add fresh basil to garnish your food, it loves fresh air. So to keep it vibrant, add it at the very end when you're finished cooking. And if you throw it in too early, it will lose its flavor. Another herb that I use sometimes, not all the times, but I do have it in my spice cabinet, is dried chives. Chives are basically green onion's cousin. It has a mild, fresh, and subtle taste to it though, without that oniony kick. It's perfect for sprinkling over baked potatoes, mixing it in dips, and sprinkling it on top of your eggs, which is what I use it for my eggs. And when I do those loaded baked potatoes, I will sprinkle chives on top. They're basically like the finishing touch kind of herb. Another herb that I have in my spice drawer and spice cabinet, I don't cook with it that often. I cook with it around Thanksgiving time, but yeah. Another herb that I have is thyme. Thyme is that quiet but mighty herb that doesn't need to shout to make a huge impact. It's earthy and it has a lemony undertone. I swear, anytime I make roasted chicken, turkey, roasted vegetables, thyme is like the MVP that I use in those dishes. It actually pairs well with garlic, lemon, rosemary, and pretty much any type of meat, especially poultry. And another herb that I have in my spice and pantry drawer that only comes out around Thanksgiving time is sage. And when you use it right, it takes dishes like stuffing, sausage, or roasted meats from good to next level. And it pairs so well with butter or cream sauces. It's almost like you can sense autumn on the horizon when you eat anything with sage in it. Outside of Thanksgiving, the only time I use sage is when I'm making homemade sausage. And I use sage, fennel, and a few other ingredients when I do my own sausage from scratch. So if you are just starting out and you want to level up real quick, here's what you need to add to your spice cabinet. And you don't have to grab these all at once because remember, we are on a budget. What I would suggest you do is grab 1 or 2 spices every time you go grocery shopping. That's how you will build your spice collection. I have a lot of spices, but I didn't do it all in one sitting. I grabbed 1 or 2 spices every time I went grocery shopping. And that's how I have the amount of spices that I have currently. If you are a beginner, the main spices that you need is salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, chili. That's it. That's all you need to level up your dishes. Now start with those, and when you are ready to level up your game, then you can add others like adobo seasoning and all of the herbs and things that I mentioned earlier. If I can go from cooking dry and bland chicken to making full-on Sunday dinners, you can do the same too. Spices are not scary, it's just love in a jar. And once you learn your favorites, your kitchen will never be the same. All right, friend, go out there and raid that spice owl and tag me or let me know what dish you are going to cook with your newfound spices. As always, I love you, take care, and I will see you in the next video. Talk to you later. Bye.